Hey there, welcome back to Construction Executives Live. I'm your host, Jeremy Owens, owner and founder of 3 Generations Improvements and U.S. Construction Zone, out in sunny Folsom, California, where it will be a balmy 100 degrees today. Hey, we have a great show for you today, especially if you guys are familiar with wildfires and how it's affecting you and your livelihood and your homes. So stay tuned for this one. I have a couple quick notes here. If anybody is looking for a conference to attend and you're in the remodeling home improvement space, I'm going to be speaking at the Pinnacle Experience. So go to proremodelerpinnacle.com if you want to take a look at that. It's out in Baltimore. It's the end of June. It's coming up pretty quick. But they gave me a discount code if you guys are interested. It's called, Support Me Live. If you get Support Me Live in when you register, you'll get the conference for $79. So that's a huge savings of over $100. If you want to come out, meet me, hang out a little bit, have some fun, but also get nitty gritty in remodeling, please take a look at that. We are sponsored by the great team at Build 12. Take a look at build12.com if you want to take a look at a revenue generating machine. Take a look at Build 12. Like I said, the show today is going to be titled Breaking Down Our Fire Insurance Crisis. We will dive into the causes of the escalating crisis of burning forests and communities and how it's driving the widespread fire insurance crisis. We will discuss these causes and seek innovative solutions to support real risk reduction. Discover how these issues have reached such critical levels and explore the newest and best risk reduction innovations that only builders can provide. We need to bring those insurance providers back and into the WUI regions. We need to raise the bar from just trimming vegetation that only grows back. And we have a master in this space today. Our speaker today is Steve Conboy, and he's the founder and chief technologist of Mighty Firebreaker LLC, a GEVI public company. He is the inventor of MFB31 Citratec, a patented non-toxic fire inhibitor certified by the EPA Safer Choice Products Program, and has won awards including the Thomas Edison, RMI, Connect, ENR, and EPA Partner of the Year. He started his career in construction back in Brooklyn in '75. So he's been in the building trades for his entire career. In 2005, he really started his career in the proactive mold fire protection chemistry space, working there for 10 years. And then after witnessing the Tubbs fire in 2017, Steve's focus has been on developing proactive solutions to save homes from wildfires, defending our environment with safer, non-toxic chemistry. And he has 22 patents. He's an author. He's all over the place. Please help me welcome Steve Conboy. Steve, thanks for being here. You there, bud? Oh, we're having a little bit of technical issues here. There he is. Hey, Steve. Thanks for being here. I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for being here. This is a really good timing live show, as you can imagine. This is critical times that we have here, especially out in the West. So tell us a little bit about your career in construction and how you got to this space now.
You know, it's amazing. In the introduction, you talk about where you live.
Yeah.
That's a pretty heavy-duty wildfire region. That's just waiting to go, you know? So we got to come up with solutions. I'm definitely not a firefighter. I have a lot of them around me now as advisors. I have one in my room right now that was a former CAL FIRE captain. Mm-hmm. And these guys all start out as skeptics. In other words, how can there be something so good that can help us stop fires faster? That's what the show's all about. Can we stop fire faster, make it safer for those guys to put their life on the line to go and save our homes and save us in evacuations? And so everything we do is in honor of them, just the way we honor our police, right? So
yeah, absolutely. So how do you think, where do you think we got to this point, Steve? Like, why are we at this point now? Especially, let's talk about just the forest for now. Like, how do we get to this point?
Well, you know, if you ever read my book, Nature is Screaming, we built right into these WUI regions since World War II with the GI Bill, and we did it without any thought of how do we make buildings resilient. Mm-hmm. So the codes are all moving towards resilient exterior products, the siding, the deckings, the roofing. That's all great, the vents. But for, so many years, we were putting up rack screen vents and gable ends and roof vents that kept out varmints and didn't even think about flying embers into combustible space, right?
Right.
So redoing vents is a hot topic. It's real easy. We just go to the NFPA 1/8-inch galvanized screen and double screen. Don't even take out what you have.
Yeah, right.
But, when we go out doing wildfire defense, it's all about contractors, training contractors. So I got into space as a carpenter out of Brooklyn working high rise, transferred to California to build in the big housing boom as a framer before there was even towns like Mission Viejo. So I crossed over into the engineered wood business as an engineering technical rep on why we even went to I-joists. And part of the reason is because the forest couldn't support those solid floor joist members anymore because we hacked all the old growth.
Yeah.
And the government limited the old growth. So now we're building with juvenile lumber, and juvenile lumber doesn't have the bending values of old growth. It also burns faster because you don't have as much growth veneers. You have a lot of sapwood, so buildings burn fast. We don't have enough veneers to make plywoods because veneers, the growth rings become the plywood. So we switched over to OSB. Yeah. And OSB is held together with phenolic resin and MDI, and it makes it highly explosive. So for the firefighters going into buildings with engineered wood, the floors were collapsing faster. The OSB was exploding. And when I left the engineered wood business, it was first to come in for the mold problem because OSB is like a particle board.
Yeah.
So when it rained on the OSB and the floors filled up 1.5 inches all around the plates, that OSB would swell and the nails wouldn't move, but the OSB would move. So we would lose floor diaphragm values that support lateral strength values. But the biggest problem is we created mold because it never dried out underneath the plates of a wall. So I got involved in a mold protection, and the vice president of procurement and VP of Home Depot, when they took on my product, told me I was the guy that created the mold problem. And I thanked them. Because the green lumber in their stores birthed mold. And they had employees that would get mold illness because mold creates aflatoxin poison that's harmful to humans. Right. So I crossed over from that over into fire science. And I've been in fire science way before Tubbs because I was trying to develop a cost-effective way to defend all the lumber in high-density housing besides what was called pressure impregnated, which is the exterior wall for a firewall.
Right.
95% of the wood was raw wood. So when the arsons are hitting those buildings, firefighters can't go in them. They show up knowing right away to just show up with a crane to try to save the neighboring buildings. Right. Why didn't we use pressure impregnated lumber? Same reason we're doing what we're doing in wildfire, because it was too expensive. So we only did the exterior wall and some party walls, and I figured out a way to do 100% of the interior lumber in a cost-effective way at $1 a square foot. Well, that took off, and basically I did about 20 million square feet of living all around the United States for all the national builders. And I'm now trying to do the same thing in wildfire. So how do we defend buildings in wildfire, what today's show I hope is all about?
Yeah, definitely. So where does your passion to defend that human exposure to chemicals stem from? Where did you get that passion?
My best friend, my father basically, in the Navy, they told him it was safe to wrap those pipes with asbestos.
Oh,
here I am having kids, and he's the best grandfather in the world. And he died so fast from asbestosis. So, when I'm laying on top of him in the hospital and hospice, I told him I'm going to do something about it. So my passion basically is driving me 7 days a week, because I hate hearing about firefighters dying from AFFF foam. Who the heck approved it? Right. How can you have firefighters dying from cancer from foam that was readily used everywhere? Come on. Right. So the same thing with my chemistry. It's all about how do you create something that'll put fire out faster than anything on the market and do it in an environmentally human-friendly way. So that's who we are today, right?
Yeah, definitely. So talk a little bit about the Tubbs fire. Not everybody remembers that. Obviously, Northern California, we all know about it. But talk about the Tubbs fire and what that really did to everything, right? Not only your career, but to current codes now.
Yeah, it blew me away watching the Tubbs fire blowing, out in the hills on the east side of the 101 in the afternoon. And I went in right after the fire into the neighborhoods and talked to people sitting on their front lawn or in their driveway with no house. Mm-hmm. And they told me that, the fire, we got warned to evacuate at 1:30 in the morning, and by 3:30, my house was gone. Jeez. And, they can talk about it being Martians or whatever, blowing up the houses. But at the end of the day, when you come into communities like that have so much risk, and you throw a wind behind it, and you have communities with 5-foot setbacks with combustible materials, you are talking about bombs going off. Yeah. Just like we witnessed in Maui, right? Mm-hmm. You got RVs and propane and freaking cars blowing up in Maui with a wind behind it. It's going to look like napalm. Yeah. You got board footage and attics exploding. It's nothing firefighters can do but help people get out. So I knew we had to do something, but a lot of it's about the developments in California where they bought cheap land. They all did it. They had to look for cheaper land, right? Than the urban infills. They had to go out into the WUIs. They carve it out. And they built houses with combustible materials. We used to build them with shake roofs. Right. And, with 5-foot setbacks. I mean, people got to understand when you get wind barreling through a community and the wind, the embers can tuck in between the setbacks of buildings. Mm-hmm. And they're not exposed to wind in between the buildings like we are in the front and back of the building. You're a goner. Yeah. You're a goner. Yeah. Especially when you have dry vegetation and weeds in between your house, because no one's looking at that the way they're looking at the front of your house. So there's just so much we can do. But Tubbs fire was a disaster, and it just drove me into. I went up there and went into where the people were trying to find rescue and tried to offer the Catholic charities where I donate and do all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But it just blew me away walking in a neighborhood that looked like napalm went off.
Yeah, that's crazy. So talk a little bit about Mighty Firebreaker and the chemistry of it. What is it for people who don't know, and why is it so much different and better than like you said, what we're used to?
Yeah, when I was doing all the high density housing, I had to get a chemistry that would pass the smell test of all the consultants, Lennar and Avalon Bay and Equity Residential would hire, because they'd say it's too good to be true. So the bottom line is, when we were in spraying 5-story high density housing, my guys could be spraying without a mask, and you could walk in the room and have less of an impact than spraying latex paint. Yeah. So when you take food grade constituents and add it with water to make an aqueous-based fire inhibitor, it's pretty amazing when you start to use it for wildfire defense. I mean, I have food grade chemistry, and I add a cling that's basically the cling that's on vitamins and aspirin, so they don't dissolve in humidity. So I'm not killing vegetation. But if you proactively spray it on the fuels that lazy fire needs to ignite to survive, we eliminate its ability to ignite. That's what's amazing. But here's the part that rubs me in this industry. So many companies are out there. I mean, the foams and the gels are a joke. Run from those companies. Yeah. Because look at any foam and gel that's being used. Look on the container that they're blending on site to your water pressure. There's no quality control in that. And then the supplier who produces the concentrate says, well, if it's out there for and dries up, like in your temperature right now in 3 hours, reapply it. Well, how do you reapply it if you shot your wad out of your system?
Right.
Follow me?
Yeah.
And, so the beauty about this chemistry is we can apply it early and bone dry. Some of these products, we see trucks running around up in Napa that say long-term fire retardant. There's no such thing.
Right.
It's all BS. It's like everybody says they're safe and environmentally friendly, and you say, okay, prove it. How do they prove it? You know, we went to the EPA, and basically for the first time ever, the EPA put us into a program. They've only done things for soaps, not fire retardants.
Right.
And, you know, they went to, they hired a laboratory that really vetted us out. And for the first time ever in the EPA, we're the safer choice for fire retardants, which is good for mankind. Good advance. You know, we got to keep advancing, right? So, I mean, I can go on and on. I'm sure you have other questions to ask me.
Yeah, no, I do. I'm always fascinated with the chemistry because I can see how people would go, hey, no, that's too good to be true, right? Because they're so used to these other products and almost like adopted them. And so it's so hard to break through, right? How do you break through, especially when you have like government agencies you had to get through and red tape? And how has that process been for you? It's probably been exhausting, correct?
It's brutal, but you know what wakes me up is the fact that I laid on top of my best friend when he was dying. That's what gets me going, bro.
Yeah.
They're brutal. I mean, they're all skeptics, and they keep on doing the same old thing. And let's face it, in the wildfire business, the fire departments and everybody doing freaking trimming chases the money, the federal money. And I'm the one saying, wait a minute, we need to have a freaking tax credit. If we're doing it for solar, we need to do it for wildfire defense. But we got to do it in a way where it's an accredited program, not somebody saying I'm safe and I'm environmentally friendly. We need the architects involved. We need architects vetting out all these companies that make these freaking claims. And that's what we're doing with that AEC daily course. Hey, here's something else. Water, right? Look at the bubbles in the water. You know what's amazing is the federal program for dropping out of planes says your pH has to be 10 or less. The pH on this right here is 10.4. So why? You follow me?
Yeah, why?
You know, why aren't we testing things that are coming out of planes on fir and pine trees instead of just dry grass?
Right.
We need to raise the bar like we raised the bar in the engineering community after the Northridge earthquake. And we came out with hardy panels and strong wall systems and earthbound. We didn't like it as framers. We used to be just putting it in a lead brace, a 1x6. And now you want to put in freaking hold downs?
Right.
We didn't like it, but it became the norm.
Right.
It's just like in the auto industry where they added the airbag. Okay. You think they liked that? No. But did it reduce risk of heavy injury? Yes. We need to do the same in this propaganda freaking campaign that we're all going to die from climate change. Guess what? We can beat fire if we can get chemistry on things that it needs to advance on before it arrives.
Right.
So with that, you can ask me another question. Sorry.
Yeah, I love it. I'm fired up. Let's go. Let's go break something. Yeah, you got me fired up, Steve. I wanted to talk a little bit because I'm in this space, right? We're doing siding, we're doing windows, we're doing Class 1A exteriors, we're doing the Vulcan vents, we're doing all these things to protect. What's crazy for me is that it's such a moving target with wildland urban interface, WUI maps. Things are so moving so fast and changing so fast. We can't keep up. We have no idea what building departments are doing. It is such a wild west right now. So tell me a little bit about what's going on with these maps. What can we expect? What do we do?
You know, that AI came in hard after Tubbs. Tubbs and the Thomas fire and the Wolseley fire, and it just came in hard. I mean, we lost 3,000 houses in 2003 in San Diego, and we didn't have a freaking WUI mapping program, okay?
Right.
AI showed up after Tubbs and basically flew over communities and basically said, you're a wildfire threat.
Right.
All right. That funds a lot of projects, bro.
Yeah.
But it hurts a lot of people. Because when I get out there in some of these properties, there's no risk, but they're on a WUI map, so their insurance 10x'd. You know? So it's we got to deal with it, but we got to deal with it in better ways than thinking that we only got to trim vegetation that grows back. You're never going to get the insurance industry back for just trimming. And we got to pay attention to the underwriters. And we heard their cry because we're builders. And it's the only one's going to have an impact on the insurance industry is a GC builder, not a gardener trimming. They don't even want to hear about it. These underwriters are smart. They want a no shortcut program. They want everything documented. And they're going to want chemistry as a second line of defense deployed. So WUI's a problem, but WUI's good for contractors that are getting into space. And that's our program, to train GCs to get involved.
Okay. So let's start with that a little bit. What does it look like if you're a 3 generations improvements and you're already doing 1A exteriors or you're in the fire defense kind of area, how do you get involved with Mighty Firebreaker?
Well, 3G, basically, guys are pretty motivated to get involved. And what we do is, I've been doing it for so long, and the guys around me are I train them to be really good at risk assessment. It's all about risk assessment. When you get on a property and you recognize that an owner is going to be paying you, they're not who you answer to. You answer to the underwriter, and you let the owner know that. Say, I'm here to give you a quote. I'm going to give you the most reasonable quote I can to reduce your risk. But I'm going to document every move I make so that when you push it towards an insurance company, you might get better than the fair plan. And what happens is when I meet with the underwriters and insurance company, I tell them up front, I heard you cry. We caused the problem. And basically, we're hoping that you pay attention to what we do in our program, because our program's more than trimming and changing vents. We're basically going to go no shortcut on that NFPA list, but we're also going to add a second line of defense, and with AI, smoke detection monitoring, that can activate a wildfire defense system, which we hope one day becomes the new code in these regions that you guys want to call WUI. If you're going to be calling us WUI, then give us the ability to work our way out of these unsustainable insurance premiums. And that's where GCs come in. I was on a call once with a retired fire chief, my attorney general, and the heads of CAL FIRE that were running the FEMA program. And the news, $40,000 house. A program didn't go anywhere. And I said, we want to help the program be successful. So we had a conference call. And when I was done talking to them, and I told them, the only way you can be on a property doing real wildfire defense is to be a GC. You can't be a plumber. You can't be a landscaper. You got to be a GC if you're going to be climbing all over the roof and you're going to be changing things out. And you're going to close up decks. And you're going to change vents, and you're going to hook up wildfire defense systems. And when I was done on that Zoom call and I got witnesses, they said it's the best program they ever heard. It's the GCs. And we can train them all over the Western region to really address this problem. But we got to get the federal government to come in behind with a tax credit, just like we do for solar. Motivate people to invest in wildfire defense, so you can get them off of this stupid fair plan, which is nothing but the same insurance companies in a better club.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, as you mentioned, 3 Generations is involved with this system. My dad, Kurt, just installed the Mighty Firebreaker system on his house. He lives in a WUI area. But you saw his house, Steve. He's got everything tight. It's ready. Now he's got the sprinkler system ready and armed, and if something happens, he can hit go and be really confident. So he's ecstatic, but he's also already getting feedback from insurance companies. So let's talk about that a little bit.
All right, we're not giving up, bro. And that guy's an amazing dude. You know, he installed that system with a former CAL FIRE captain.
Right.
Who's out there running my quality controls. Okay.
Yeah.
We are not giving up. I mean,
right.
I worked for the government for a term. Okay. I was part of the U.S. Department of Treasury, the International Trade Administration. I spoke at the United Nations. I spoke at the World Trade Conferences. I'm not giving up on this tax credit. If you can give solar, that'll only help the fire in melting. You can give us wildfire defense tax credit, which you need to do to help American homeowners. And we are going to rally up general contractors to sign a petition to get this done. I've met with Senator Dodd. I've met with Congressman Huffman. We met with Congressman Peters. We are going after these guys to get this on the agenda.
Right.
If this is your campaign over climate change, you need to help American homes, because people need the incentive of a tax credit. But just think how much money it would save FEMA.
Right.
How many firefighters, it makes their life safer. So they can go home to their wife and kids. This is a good program, bro.
Right.
And we need to rally around it. And we're ready to train contractors wherever we go. We started in California, but let me tell you something. We are all over the Western United States, from Colorado to Idaho, Montana, you name it, Hawaii. We are there. And every time we go in to do installs, we're looking for locals to train them.
Yeah.
And that's how we found your company.
Right.
And you guys will be that region that goes up in those foothills, up into Tahoe.
Right.
Tahoe is tough stuff. They built the houses around the trees.
Yeah.
So if you're following the rules, you're never going to get insurance. And we say, wait a minute. We aim at the tree, trim it up, aim at it.
Right.
So that we can keep the tree from tree topping with chemical.
Right.
So there's a solution when you add chemistry that's different than their solution.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, so in your discussions with insurance companies, so just so people know, obviously not everyone's in California here. So a lot of insurance companies have left California. And so they said, we're done. The liability is too high. The risk is too high. They don't like paying out, right? So they've left, and you're attempting to try to get them back. But the education process has been difficult, right? You have to educate them on what your system is and what it can do. So how has that been so far, and where you think you're at?
I don't know. I'm in communication with them. I've been working with them for a year, but I had to convince them on the high density housing too, when we had all the arsons burning urban infill. In other words, a lot of the millennials wanted to live in the cities, so the builders went into infill to take out old communities to build 5/2 podium urban infill, 900 units right in the middle of a city, right? The arsons were burning them down all over the United States. And I had to convince insurance companies that if we sprayed 100% of that wood while it's going vertical, I got them to lower the national builders insurance rates. So we are starting to talk to the underwriters, and we are going to convince some of them come in. There's a lot of stuff going on in the insurance industry. There's going to be captives coming in. There's going to be big commercial projects. These resorts that 10x'd. It's serious money.
Right.
When you get the freaking Metalwood Club or the Metalwood Winery, and their insurance goes up 10x because of the fire they had.
Right.
Or, you get these resorts along the coast in Big Sur. 10x is a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
You're going to see some creative ways to come in to insure, but it's going to all be based on new science coming in that's more than just trimming.
Right. Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah. So what is the government doing? Obviously, this is a crisis, especially in California. I know that, some people know about the FAIR plan. Basically, it's a very high cost of fire insurance, but your coverage goes way down as well. So, what are they going to do for these folks? Because now the home values are going down, right? Now people aren't really encouraged to go retire up on the hill now, right? Now they're going, wow, maybe we should stay in the city because we don't know about the insurance. So this is a crisis when it comes to home values now, which now is in kind of that mode where people go, I may bail from California, right?
Well, listen, we got a war going on in Washington right now, so they're not ready to pay attention to anything other than the war until November's over. But people don't understand housing starts are what supports the economy. Housing starts. It brings in urban infill. It brings in commercial buildings. It supports the economy. We can't let this attack the Western region's housing starts, or we're going to create a crisis. So at the end of the day, new construction, the D.R. Hortons, the KB Homes, the big builders coming into communities, just think about the risk when you're going in to put up 250 houses. The first thing you're going to do is go in and with a bulldozer and plow out all the native woolly vegetation. It's gone. And now we're building them with hardened products because that's the new code. But if we can convince those builders to start by spraying the bones of the home before drywall, we are going to get the attention of the underwriters because we started with the bones, and now we're going to thread the wildfire defense system during framing, which makes the system half the price. So now when you turnkey that house, it's got the bones 100% defended Class A. It's got a wildfire defense system on it. And your landscaping is going to be hardened because we took the woolly vegetation out. This is going to be a start for national builders to get behind this campaign. And we can change it. But it's not going to be easy. And, like 3G, we're hoping that drive business to you guys. And your guys are excited, but we can't. Mighty Firebreaker can't be the only company doing installs. We're never going to get it all done. I got people calling me in Aspen. I got people calling me up in, Yellowstone and Jackson Hole, and it's just they're coming at us in Hawaii. So they're just coming at us everywhere. The word's being spread that the only way to truly reduce risk is deploy chemistry around the building before the fire arrives. And we're the only ones that take AI, smoke detection monitoring. That all came into market for the fire departments, which is really good technology, to let them have an early start at trying to defend it, What we said is, wait a minute. We're jumping in that to give our property owners early notice to activate the system. So with the underwriters, I tell them, wait a minute, we can do better than that. We'll take the human out of it. We'll just activate the system for them. So if somebody's surfing in Hawaii and their house is threatened, we're not calling them up to activate the system. We're activated. So I call our approach the airbag. And you saw my flyer with the airbag, right?
That's great. Great analogy.
This is how we convince these underwriters that we got their back. Every single job we do, we got your back to reduce your risk. And that's how we're going to get them back. And I'm telling you, you're going to see it 2024. You're going to see great insurance companies coming back.
So what would you say to the homeowner? Let's just use my dad Kurt as an example, right? Before he proactively is protecting his home without the understanding, or, hey, we don't know what the insurance companies are going to do or say, which ones are going to come back to the table for him. But he was proactive with, hey, I'm going to get this done. I care about my property. I can do this. I'm smart. I'm going to do this myself before knowing what the insurance companies are doing. What would you say to homeowners who are sitting on that fence, waiting for guarantees and things like that, which may not come very soon, and may be too late? So what would you say to the homeowners in this situation?
It's not too late. And just like I told Kurt, do it now. We document it now as if you're going after that discount. Because eventually when they come for the discount, you got the documentation of what you did. Here's a big difference. In other words, when you think about fire retardant, the history of fire retardant, you think of toxic chemical, right? We see all the lawsuits over the killing of salmon and trout. We see all the lawsuits over creating blue algae in our drinking water. All we all know is that fire retardants have been toxic forever, right? Everybody does.
Yeah.
Well, finally today, we're not toxic, and we're UL Green Guard Gold, and we're safe around children in schools, and we're zero VOC, so we can go inside, we can go outside, we can blow inside the vents in an attic. All right. So for an insurance company now to get behind a chemical process,
Mm-hmm.
we're not worried about being dragged into a lawsuit down the road for toxic chemical.
Right.
You see,
So talk about the EPA aspect. How
the EPA people are amazing.
How did that certification work?
They not only did they said our chemical is the laboratory. They have 3 laboratories that do all of their work, and they're accredited by the EPA.
Mm-hmm.
And Leslie, the one we worked with, NSF, great people, coached us on how to get through this process. It was grueling, and they audit us in our production facilities on our quality control and documentation, and they audit everything we say. So this is the process that we want the architects to recognize as we go forward, looking for a tax credit. That products come in to get the tax credit have to be vetted out by an architect. Now, you as a builder know this. You've always built buildings where it was the architect who always had the authority over fire protection, not the building department, the architect. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm going back to that community with my course. And my course right now is setting new records in AEC Daily on people taking the course. So, bottom line is the EPA made us the Safer Choice Partner of the Year. And it's pretty amazing that all of a sudden the fire retardant part of the EPA program. So they're serious about the future of the environment.
Yeah.
And so are we. And we don't want to kill fish. And we prove we don't. And not only did we prove it in the federal government up in Missoula on the trout, but we proved it on minnows in California. And what's amazing is to get California certified as non-toxic and non-hazardous, you have to go through a minnow test with a laboratory, and we do that test, so we're non-toxic and non-hazardous. So this is where we got to raise the bar in chemistry, because it's going to take chemistry. We can't count on enough fire trucks to show up. There's too many fires.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
It's not their fault. We got to help them as homeowners, and we got to rally people to get proactive. And we're trying to make it so available with backpack cannons and things for people to spray and remove the fear of living in a WUI. But we got to rally for this tax credit, and maybe we'll get moving after the war's over in November.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit. You talked briefly about this, mushroom, I guess they call it, right? Insurance crisis mushroom. What is that exactly?
Well, the same companies that are pulling out of California, and they send you a notice that you've been canceled, are back in the FAIR plan.
Oh.
Yeah, all of them. And the FAIR plan's more money, right?
Oh,
so
God.
This is we've been meeting with Commissioner Laura. I've been calling Newsom to try to let us come in a meeting with him to show you what we're doing. We'd like to meet with Newsom. We'd like to show him what we're saying about a tax credit, because, solar, clean energy. Okay, well, it does us no good to have solar, wind, clean energy if the smoke that we create in one day undermines all the gain in it.
Yeah. Good point.
Come on, man. We got to add engineering into what we do.
Right.
Move forward. And there's no engineering in that at all.
Right.
Let these fires. We see a fire last week that was burning for a freaking week on dry grass.
Yeah.
I mean, really? Atomizing cannons, blowing chemical out of tanker trucks, create fire breaks. Instead, you got guys out there with a hoe.
Yeah.
Fire break. It's like, really? So, we also saw a high density fire over there in Northern California last week. They never say it's arson, but at the end of the day, when they burn down like that, a lot of times it's arson activity.
Yeah.
The same thing with wildfire. They don't call it arson, but they're saying 85% of the wildfires are lit by humans.
Jeez.
So, you know, these Canadian fires, it's like, how do you have 30 fires going off at the same time?
Yeah.
Well, we gotta embrace, we gotta treat wildfires not, you know, everybody wants to say they're good for the environment. That was cool before we built communities into it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's an enemy. So we gotta treat it like with the military with missile defense systems.
Right. Right.
You know, it's the enemy. It's not good to the environment. Okay, let it burn dead forests. Don't come in and burn down Tubbs Fire.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So in a perfect world, where do you see Mighty Firebreaker going? If you had your way, if things were a little bit easier and the red tape wasn't quite as thick, where would it be? Where would you envision yourself here?
Well, I'm going to turn into the new 50 next week, which is 70. I still got the energy to keep fighting, but where I'm going now is I'm going to push for this tax credit. I'm going to push to get hundreds of general contractors trained. You know, part of doing that is you got to build the back end of me. I got to create other guys that are like me. And that's what I've been doing. Right. And I got those guys that when they're on a site, they're going to be just like me, training contractors. So wherever we go, we're looking for the GCs to come in and do it. So we're going to grow in that way. We're also going to continue to, in our conversation with the insurance industry, we're going to convince the insurance industry that we can reduce risk to make them be able to insure properties with less premium for more insurance and less of a deductible. That's going to be big news when that happens, right?
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah.
We're passionate about it, and we're in communication with them. Okay. And you know, the other, I'm just starting now my moving towards the big box stores, so that people can go to their garden store or go to their Lowe's or go to their Home Depot or go to their Tractor Supply and their Ace Hardware and get this eco-friendly, safe chemistry so they can spray it on under their deck and around their house. So, you know, if they had an ant problem, they're probably spraying something more toxic than what they could do to save their home. Yeah. So there's a lot of things we're going to do now to get the product out in people's hands, but nobody's going to do it better than a general contractor putting in a wildfire defense system. Here's what's amazing. You heard of Oakmont and the fire threats in Oakmont, okay, over there in Santa Rosa. I got a woman in there that owns 3 houses, and we were going to donate the houses to her. And the Oakmont Community Architecture Review Board and the Firewise community told them no. And what I was trying to tell the people that were trying to get approval is, we don't even need a building permit. Yeah. In other words, when we come in with a tank, we're not tying into the county water pressure. Right. Right. When we come into a pump with a pump that can plug into an outlet, okay, we're not doing anything that needs to be code. And you're saying no because of the Architecture Review Board to give this person extra defensive chemistry? To me, that's got to end. We got to be able to get more people to get this product. Right. So we're going to have an event in Santa Rosa coming up at the Flamingo to teach people. Okay. We'll have another event up in Truckee, and yeah, we'll be there. So
what does it look like for if you're a GC and you're wanting to get more information? MightyFirebreaker.com, correct? Yeah. And then what is the steps they need to take to get on board? Do they need to do some certifications? What do they need to do exactly? Because I know that's going to be a huge question on this show.
You know, like you guys came in, it was like 2 days. You know, you come in and we spend a day together. We get to know you. Right. And, you know, I have retired fire chiefs and retired fire marshals and fire captains. You know, we're all talking to you about what we do. Right. And then that's a day where we're just teaching what we do. We do live demos. We're showing them how to install a system, and we're showing them how it doesn't burn certain things. And then we give them a simple test. And, you know, maybe the next day we play a little golf with them. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're always going to want to train you. We're going to give you a test, because what we don't want you to be is sued for saying the wrong thing. There's no guarantees.
Right.
There's no guarantee in an airbag in a car.
Right.
Okay, but it means science, proven laboratory accredited science, proves you can reduce the risk, but there's no guarantee.
Right.
So we want to make sure they're not saying the wrong thing, especially with our brand. And we're going to get around and do it. So if we're in Jackson Hole or we're up in Montana or wherever we are, we're looking for those contractors where we ask them, come and do a day with us. Come spend the day with us and do an install. And right then and there, we can train them. And then I send them the test. So, you know, we got guys taking tests in Hawaii. So we're all about it.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, we're excited. We'll definitely promote those events. So definitely send them my way so that I can send it out to my people. And I know there's going to be a lot of GCs that are looking to add this to their product mix. So this is going to really help them kind of, you know, get to the next step. I think one more detail I wanted to kind of get into, just so that they have kind of a visual. What does it look like? I mean, we know you have the tub and you have kind of some PVC, some sprinkler type systems up on the roof. Talk a little bit through the install, what it looks like, so that they can kind of visualize what it would look like on a home.
I got a CAL FIRE retired captain sitting right here in the room with me. He just did an install in Montecito, Santa Barbara, in an area where nobody can get insured. None of those mansions can get insured. And basically, when I showed up to show them what we were trying to do there, we weren't going on the roof of that building. We were going off in the vegetation. So behind the house was a lot of vegetation we didn't like. It was too close to the house. Vegetation close to buildings creates combustible heat that blows out windows, and then you're done.
Yeah, right.
And then in front of the house was a hillside of vegetation. So he did 3 tanks out there. Two tanks with 275 totes, and 1 tank was 100 gallons. So they're all different, you know. Some of the properties, you know, a lot of these ranch houses up by you or the dad's house, you know, that's a 100-gallon tank with a 1-inch pump.
Right.
So they're pretty simple. They do them in like 3-4 hours, right?
Right.
So they're all going to be different, but you're looking at the things that could burn near the house that you're trying to remove.
Right.
I did a house up in Santa Cruz, and they had a deck that was like, you know, a foot off the ground and on both ends of the building, and it's wood. And what happens is the embers blow underneath the deck. Now you got the deck on fire and it's attached to the building. You're done.
Yeah, right.
So to run around the bottom of that deck with Hardy, just Hardy, the sheets of Hardy, going off the fascia of the deck down into the ground so the embers can't go into it, underneath it, was real easy.
Right, right.
You know, so we're always going after looking at the vents, and we have a vent guy that does those for us. And but they're all different size tanks. So we coach the contractors until they don't need coaching, and then we're just a supplier. Right. So then what we try to do is we're shipping everything to the job on a pallet. We GPS track it to the residence it's going to defend. So we start the document from day one. We're shipping you the pump, the tank, the chemistry, everything on a pallet to the house, GPS tracked, so we can build the case to one day get that property better insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So that's a great idea. So sometimes it's going to be on the house. Sometimes it's going to be around the deck. Sometimes it's going to be on the fences, right? So every home is going to be different, and part of what the GC is going to have to do is analyze that property a little bit, right? They need to look for those, and I know that's part of the training is look for those problem areas where the fire would come from, what would it do, and then create the solution. Correct?
Yeah, and they come to me. The best thing is they send me a plot plan, and I coach them. Send me pictures, and you know I got a team of people that can help you. You know, I had one house in Redlands. Redlands is another area you can't get insurance. And the contractor wanted to put 15 sprinklers on the house. And I said, something's wrong here. And I went out there, and there's no sprinklers on the house. The roof is hard. The siding's hard. It has a pool. It has concrete. What was the problem was the outside the rear yard fence was WUI that nobody manages.
Right.
So that sprinkler system was 300 feet long off the top of the fence.
Yeah.
None on the house. So this is what we try to teach them. And, you know, you got to knock out the risk, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
Get the chemistry on anything. You could put chemistry on a cloth towel or a newspaper, and when it's bone dry, try to light it with a 3,500-degree torch. You'll turn it black, but you'll never see a flame. So once they understand that, then they know, get the chemistry on things that are really vulnerable and easy ignition from wind-driven hot micro embers.
Yeah, I would say for all those who are skeptical or need to see it live, go check out some of those YouTube videos or go see some of those live demonstrations. It will blow your mind just how effective it is. So, hey, I'm really happy to be a part of this program, but I'm happy that you're out here talking about it and all of the effort that you have put into this on behalf of all of us and homeowners and, you know, the forest, everything. We thank you because I know how exhausting this has been for you, and it's a passion project of yours, obviously. But I can't thank you enough for what you're doing. You're battling our battles for us, and we're going to support you as much as we can. So we thank you so much.
Hey, you ever see those chemistries out there on TV, like Balance of Nature, where you basically take a couple of pills, and if you like pizza and you don't eat a lot of vegetables, you can take a couple of pills and you get a balanced diet. That's science.
Yeah.
So the human race advances in science, and when it comes to wildfire, that's what we're promoting. Let's advance.
Right.
And we can do it in a safe way. So thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for being with us, but let's do this together.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you guys all for being here. That's another episode of Construction Executives Live. What a powerful one. Might take another watch just to let all that digest. But we're proud to be a part of Mighty Firebreaker, and we look forward to promoting it and getting it on more and more homes in California. If you have any questions, go to mightyfirebreaker.com. Steve's very accessible. His team is very accessible. Reach out, get a demo, get more information, and let's get the ball rolling in the right direction. We had another great show next month. We're going to be talking a lot about trends in home improvement. Some things have changed. There's been a lot of kind of downturns and things we need to talk about. So we're going to be doing that next month. I do have the invite to the next show in the LinkedIn chat. So take a look at that if you want to sign up for the next episode. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks again for Build 12 for sponsoring, and Mighty Firebreaker for being here. So we'll see you guys next time.